So I'll begin by saying basically what is a blog. I mean, I think a lot of you, my goal today is to address some of your questions and concerns, and I'm really counting on you to ask questions at the end of this that I can answer on how to launch a blog, whether you should launch a blog, and just what the hell is it? And so that's the first question I wanted to address is, what is a blog? It's not, first you need to know it's not a full-fledged story. You're not, if someone asks you to write a blog, you should go in thinking, or you shouldn't go in thinking, okay, they want me to post multiple times a day, a full-fledged story multiple times a day. That is not really what a blog should be. And if your editor thinks that's what a blog should be, that's a discussion you need to have with him or her. But a blog is really, it's an ethos in many ways. It's a very different mindset than traditional religion reporting for a newspaper or magazine. You can go in with you need to go in with a certain theme. You need to go in knowing whether or not you're going to take a more first person or personal approach, and all of these are valid definitions for a blog. Whether you just want to go in and document or record objective observations about the religion world, whether you want to do maybe a critique of religion coverage, whether you want to be sincere, snarky, both. It's up to you, and you can do a mix of those, and I'd say all of those are pretty well represented here at this table. The approach I take is actually a little mix of all of that. I'm still trying to find my way, quite honestly. But I try to be provocative. That is my key word, and ask questions. I mean, going with the whole title of The Seeker. I pose questions, but I tend to lean a certain way when writing something. I don't express my opinion because I am a reporter, not a columnist for the Tribune, so I can't express a direct opinion, but a lot of times I try to lean a certain way when I'm writing so that I probe and prod and try to provoke some conversation and comments. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, so it's a trial and error. But I try almost always to end my blog entries with a question, what do you think? And I'll pose a question. That way, when they come back to me, I can just say, hey, dude, I just asked a question. So they can't blame me for expressing an opinion of some sort. But all of this is something that you need to discuss with your editor. And another discussion you need to have with your editor is how heavily edited the blog entries will be. In many ways, a blog can be liberating, and in many ways, a blog can be really quite a constraint. And so you need to have that discussion with your editor ahead of time. And I speak from first-person experience. I have had 2 editors since I've been at the Tribune. And the editor who I launched my blog under, she is a wonderful editor. She's got a light but constructive touch, and she's just smart as a whip. And she's great to have on stories. But when I started filing these blog entries, I would try to do these quick hits, and how I was under pressure and demand to blog multiple times a day. But yet she treated every blog entry like a story. And, well, what about this point? What about this point? Did you make a call here? And it was exhausting and draining, and the momentum was quickly lost, and I did not blog multiple times a day. I'm under a new editor who has a very light touch. He reads that, looks good, post. And I have to say, I have found my groove a little more with the blog now, because he seems to get that editing a blog is not the same thing as editing a story. Now, he edits my stories sometimes like he edits that blog, but that's another issue. I need her for my stories and him for my blog. But no, he's a wonderful person too. But editors have their strengths and weaknesses and their specialties, just like we do. So it's definitely a different mindset going into the blog when you write it as well as when you edit it. But the pace and the frequency of how often you post that's again a discussion you need to have with your editor ahead of time to determine what the expectations are. And not just your direct editor, as in your religion editor, but also the web staff. If you have a web staff, you need to figure out what drives traffic, what are their expectations. I find that doing this blog, I work for multiple editors. I don't just work for the religion editor, I also work for the web staff. So I'm getting requests and demands from different directions, and so you need to work that out, try to work that ahead of time. One key thing to remember when you're discussing the pace and the frequency of your blog is blog burnout is a big risk, and you need to guard against it so that your stories and the journalism you do for the paper doesn't suffer, and so that you personally don't suffer. So, and one of the causes of blog burnout, not only are you coming up with ideas, writing the entries, going through the edit process, marketing and networking for your blog, you are also screening comments in many cases. Sometimes editors do this for you. I don't know how many. How many of you have editors who screen comments for you? What do you have? Oh, lucky. So lucky.
Interns who screen.
Do you
Anyone
have
have an
interns or
intern
editors?
screen?
Yeah. Intern? So, how many people have blogs? Good question. Okay.
And you're planning to put a blog.
And how many of you are thinking about the blog? Yeah, okay.